Our main character is a young teenager named JYU. He suddenly wakes up in a large room. The place exudes a strange gloom with the paintings of the gods on the walls. All JYU remembered was that he was chasing a girl named Rachel in a dark dungeon. They were in a place called the Tower of the Gods, and whoever made it to the top of the tower would get whatever they wanted. When JYU caught up with Rachel, she suddenly disappeared into the void, and JYU was led to this room by a giant hand. Out of the darkness, a strange creature emerged and called himself Head-On, the guardian of this tower. JYU was anxious to ask about Rachel's whereabouts when Head-On immediately said that the answer was at the top of the tower. He asked JYU if he wanted to take the test to climb to the top of the tower, which is to overcome the eel and destroy the black orb. JYU didn't hesitate to run towards the eel, but suddenly a girl from nowhere kicked him in the face, and then called him an idiot. It turns out that this girl is Princess Yuri, daughter of King Zahard, who reigns at the top of the tower. And with her was his entourage Evan. Yuri says that JYU is irregular and too weak to pass the eel test. It seemed that the princess was quite fond of this young boy, so she asked Head-On to reduce the difficulty of the test. But the false guardian said that it was the principle of selection that he could not do otherwise. Hearing that, the princess took out the sword and gave it to JYU. Evan strongly objected because it was a treasure sword that only the Zahard royal princess could wield. If someone else's use of it was revealed, the princess could be put to death. JYU received the sword from the princess and walked straight in front of the eel. Knowing that he could not escape, JYU let the giant eel swallow him, and then attacked from the inside, forcing it to release him. Thanks to that, JYU quickly got in front of the orb and stabbed the sword straight into it. But this orb is extremely sturdy and destroying it is not easy. Even if he repeatedly stabbed the sword into the sphere, it was still unharmed. At this point, JYU recalled the first time he met Rachel. It all started when he was trying to escape a dark cave with a blank mind. When he climbs up near the mouth of the cave, he meets Rachel. She saves JYU from that cave and tells him that at the top of this tower is a sky full of stars. And her greatest desire is to escape this dark dungeon to see the stars. JYU still tries to destroy the orb but to no avail. He told the sword to lend me its power. And the spirit of the sword had suddenly appeared in the form of a woman. When it saw Ju's determination, it agreed to lend him its strength. Thanks to that, he was able to break the orb and was immediately teleported to the next floor. JYU wakes up again in a large field. The space here is exactly the same as outside when there are both sky and mountains. At this time, a cube appeared in the sky and it began to announce the rules of the second floor. It says there are now 400 players in all. After a certain time, if there are 200 people left, the challenge will end and the winners will move on. As soon as it started, the players rushed to fight each other. JYU only knows how to run to avoid having to fight with others. But after running for a while, he encountered the giant crocodile and a green-haired boy named Kun. The crocodile called himself Rak and started attacking JYU and Kun. Kun is not very interested in this war-crazed crocodile, so he intends to leave to find his teammates to climb the tower together. But when he saw the sword in Ju's hand, he turned around and threw the cloak over the crocodile's head, and then pulled JYU into a corner to trick the crocodile into running away. Kun dragged JYU to a large rock to hide, waiting for different players. After learning that Ju's purpose of climbing the tower is to find a girl named Rachel, Kun offers to ally with him. Kun said he would rather find teammates to overcome challenges together than kill each other. After a while, the crocodile also found JYU and Kun. Just as he slammed the spear down, the game over message sounded. The cube continues to issue the second rule of this floor, that the remaining players must form teams of 3. Whoever does not have a teammate will be immediately eliminated. Hearing that, Kun offered to team up with JYU and Rak. But this crocodile only likes to fight, not to form a guild. Time was running out, but they couldn't find a third person, so JYU and Kun jumped to hug the crocodile. Because of that, they are considered to have passed the test and proceed to the third floor. They were taken to a large hall with other players, this time challenged by Judge Luro, a player who had climbed to the top of the tower before. He created a wall of water that pushed the players to a corner and split the room in half. Game rules this time: the team that passes the water wall will complete the challenge, but only one of the 3 people who can't pass, the whole team will be forfeited. When everyone was trying to break through the wall of water, suddenly found JYU already on the other side of the wall. Luro thought there was a slight mistake but still agreed to give JYU to the test. Because he thinks luck is also part of the game. But Kun didn't think so because he was standing right next to JYU and still being swept away. While waiting for the other players, JYU asked Luro what irregularities were. He said it was people who did not obey the laws of the tower. This giant tower is divided into 3 areas. The residential area is called the outer zone, and the inner zone is where the regular players participate in climbing the tower, and between these 2 areas is the central zone. Most of the people in the tower live on the outskirts. They will be selected by head-on and brought to the inner zone to participate in the game. Those who were not selected by head-on and entered the inner precinct were irregulars. And according to Luro, everyone here was born and raised in this tower, but to JYU it meant that he and Rachel were both from another world. Going back to the other players, Rak and Kun both passed the wall of water easily, while quite a lot of people had to work very hard to get through this side. Going up to the next floor, JYU and 2 teammates were taken to a hall to wait for the next challenge. This time each group will have to enter a closed room to perform the challenge. Every 5 minutes from when a certain team entered, everyone heard a loud sound, which made the players who haven't had their turn feel extremely confused. When it was Ju's group's turn to enter the room, they were met by the round supervisor, Yu Han, who told them their challenge was to open the right door so they could continue. And the time limit to make a decision is 10 minutes, after that time, if you can't choose, you will be eliminated from the game. Kun thought but couldn't find a clue to solve the puzzle. Meanwhile, JYU has to try to chase after Rak to stop him from messing around. The more time passed, the more Kun fell into a deadlock. When the preparation time reached 5 minutes, suddenly Rak opened a door. Unexpectedly, it was the right door and the group passed the challenge this time. As it turns out, this floor's answer is simply to open any door before the clock hits 5 minutes. And also because of too much hesitation, every 5 minutes after entering the room, the previous teams are immediately eliminated. When they arrived to rest in the lobby of the next floor, Ju's group made the acquaintance of a man dressed in purple. His name is Shibisu, and his partner is a swordsman named Hatsu, and Anik is a lizard girl. Shibisu is weak but thanks to his good character, he was able to team up with Hatsu and Anik, 2 extremely strong players, and they carried them all the way to this 3rd floor. At this point, Luro came out and announced that they were going to hold a special challenge called the Crown Game. Teams will have to fight other teams to claim the crown on the throne, and the team that wins the crown will have to send a member to put it on their head and sit on the throne. This person will not be allowed to leave the position until the final round, and the remaining 2 teammates will be responsible for protecting the throne. After 5 rounds, the team that wins the crown will win. Teams will have the right to participate or not, and losing will have no effect on climbing the tower. But victory, it will be considered the team that wins all the challenges of the tower. In the first round, Ju's group decided not to participate and would observe the other teams, but in Shibasu's group, the lizard girl pressed the button to join in the first round. And without the other 2, the young Anik fertilized the opponent and won the crown. But instead of giving it to Shibisu, Anik put it on his head and climbed onto the throne to sleep. In the second round, Shibisu and Hatsu faced the constant onslaught of 5 other teams. However, Hatsu is a good swordsman, so it shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. In this group there is a guy who sleeps all the time from beginning to end, but in fact he is just waiting for the right moment to deliver the decisive blow. When Shibisu and Hatsu were dragged away from the throne, the blanket-clad man threw a water magic wand at the sleeping Anik, but she dodged the blow with ease. Disrupted sleep, Anik angrily pulled out his whip to kill all opponents. Seeing that, his teammates covered with blankets quickly pulled him out of the ring, accepting defeat rather than losing their lives. At this moment, the sword in Ju's hand suddenly vibrated as if it wanted to break free from its sheath. The girl who ate Anik seemed to feel the same, so she jumped in front of JYU and questioned where he got the sword. The girl said that the sword was a precious sword in the set of 13 divine swords forged by the master Ashel, and only the princesses of Zahard could possess it. As it turns out, Anik is also a princess of Zahard, and the whip in her hand is the sword Green April from the set of 13 divine swords. Anik asks JYU to give her the Black March sword because he is not qualified to keep it. But of course JYU disagreed, causing Anik to decide to kill him and his 2 teammates. But Judge Luro immediately appeared to prevent that because violence outside the ring is not allowed. Furthermore, Anik had left the throne, so her party lost and had to return to the waiting room. So Anik made a deal with JYU that if his team made it to the 5th round, the Green April sword would be his, and if he lost, he would have to hand over the Black March sword. The 3rd round of the crown game started, and this time Ju's group decided to participate. Kun quickly snatched the crown and stuffed it into his pocket. This bag has the ability to duplicate objects, so Kun created a fake crown and threw it out for the players to compete, then took the opportunity to drag Jyu to sit on the throne and put the crown on his head. At the start of the fourth round, Ju's team was the crown guard, but Kun was sleeping comfortably with his head on his head. It turned out that in the group of players participating in the crown dispute, there was a group that was saved by Kun from the 200-person qualifier. He hid the 3 players in his briefcase and smuggled them over to the 3rd floor. That's why this group repays Kun by defeating all the other teams in this 4th round and admitting defeat. Thanks to that, Ju's team easily entered the final round with almost no action. The last round, Jyu discovered that a member of the team wearing a cape was Rachel, so when that girl was sneaked, Jyu defiantly jumped off the throne to save her. And at the same moment Jyu caught Rachel, a tremendous source of power exploded from within him. Jyu almost killed Rachel's stalker if it wasn't for the spirit of the Black March sword to stop her. After that, Jyu was taken to the medical care room, and the crown game was cancelled because the crown was destroyed by him during the explosion of power. The source of the Jews' explosive power is the power of the god of water, but the strange thing is that it is only given by the gods who manage the tower, and ordinary people cannot have this power. And so far the only exception is Uric Mazzino, an irregular that has appeared before. That's why Ju's case made the judges pay special attention to him. While Jyu was still in a coma, Rachel told Kun that after he woke up, don't tell her about her appearance. She said that being with Jyu would only make them both burden each other. At this point, Anik has won Ju's Black March, but the soul of the sword refuses to cooperate. After 5 days, Jyu also woke up. This time the players will be classified according to their role in the battle. Once the position is received and training is completed, the challenge will begin. Luckily for Jyu, he was assigned to the position of Airflow Master, so his training starts tomorrow. In order to use the divine water on each floor, players must make a contract with the managers of those floors. And after being instructed, Jyu successfully made a contract with the manager of the 4th floor, and Rak was assigned to the position of merchant. When he saw someone using a spear stronger than him, Rak couldn't stand it and left the group to practice. While dining with other players, Anik revealed to everyone that besides her, there was another girl named Andrasi who was also a Zahard princess. It was also known that the Zahard princesses were not sisters, they were just prominent individuals of a tribe or community chosen by the king. After the meal, Andrasi and Anik met again in a practice match. Andrasi exposed Anik that she was not Princess Zahard. After a while of fighting with Anik, Andrasi realized that Anik was the daughter of the real Princess Zahard. Anik said at this point that her mother was very happy after leaving the royal family, but when her father was murdered by other Zahard princesses, she fell into despair and Kian lived with him. Therefore, Anik's purpose here is to take revenge on anyone who bears the name of Princess Zahard. It turns out that those who become Princess Zahard, in addition to being granted their own privileges, must follow a rule that they cannot mate and have children, because that way their superior bloodline will be passed out. It could be said that King Zahard treated those who had been given the title of princess as items on display, beautiful and perfect but never used. And Anik's mother was the first to break the rules. That's why she existed in this world, and Andrasi can be considered as Anik's aunt. My aunt and I got into a no-tolerance match again, and Anik kicked her off the ring, but Andrasi wasn't the right type to quickly drag her down. Although not dead, both were injured and Andrasi said that she missed Anik's mother very much. She was a gentle person and treated her very well when she first became Princess Zahard. As for Jyu, because he helped the blanket guy Laura wash the pillow, he was taught how to use the god of water, so Jyu passed the training and was ready for the new challenge. However, it made one of Laura's teammates, Hu, uncomfortable, because Jyu was their opponent in the Tower War anyway. After the training of all players is completed, the challenge of the 4th floor also begins, and this time it is a game of hide and seek. Rax somehow didn't have to participate in this challenge, and all 28 players will be randomly assigned to 2 groups A and B. Each team will have to choose a demon badge bearer, on the side of the judges. We'll also send someone to capture the badge bearer. The whole team will have to protect and pave the way for the person carrying the demon badge to reach the destination or get the badge on the judge's body. If the judge takes the badge away, it will be forfeited. However, passing this 4th round depends on the performance of each individual. Losing does not have a great influence on passing this floor. Kun was assigned to Group A and was the group that started the challenge first. He was chosen as the team leader, and the one chosen by the judges was Quant. Realizing this was an extremely difficult ranker to deal with, Kun let Shibisu bait, and the others were arranged to distract and hold Quant, paving the way for their demon badge-bearer, Anik, to run to destination. Everyone who was arranged by Kun to stand in Quant's way was quickly defeated by him. However, everything is still in the calculation of Kun's genius. He tricked Quant into dragging him down the bridge right before the finish line. Kun calculates that after passing his field, Quant no longer has the strength to jump back up, so Anik can't make it to the finish line any easier. But an unexpected thing happened. Quant suddenly appeared at the finish line and in an instant held in his hand the demon badge of Team A. Turns out, the person who helped Quant return to the top was Kun. He had calculated that he would have enough points to pass this floor without having to win, and the purpose of losing was to give Ju's Team B more information and a chance to go to the next floor. When it was Group B's turn to take on the challenge, an unexpected event happened. Hu turned his face and drew a knife to kill Rachel. Turns out someone sent him a letter saying that if you kill Rachel, JYU will quit the game. While Rachel struggled to fight, Hu's knife accidentally stabbed into her body. JYU ran to catch Rachel and Hu fell to the floor. He said that killing Rachel was not to climb the tower, but because all his relatives were murdered, he hates people with a purpose to strive for like JYU. After saying that, Hu took the knife and committed suicide right in front of everyone. At this point, Andrasi steps in and says that this ordeal must end soon in order to save Rachel. Andrasi quickly stole the demon badge from Quant, so Ju's team won the challenge and Rachel was immediately taken to the emergency room. After regaining consciousness, Rachel confessed to JYU that she left him because she thought he was a burden. If she took him with her she would not be able to reach the top of the tower and look at the stars. Even so, JYU decides to forgive Rachel and says that he will become Rachel's feet and take her to the top of the tower. After the fourth floor's trial, most of the survivors continued to the fifth floor. But because Rachel could not fully recover from her injuries, she was eliminated. Knowing that JYU longs to go with Rachel, Kun steps up and asks Yu Han to let Rachel go. If not, he will take on the challenge of the gods who manage the tower. It was Luro who told Kun about this. The stewardship test is an extremely difficult test, but if passed, it can change the rules of the floors. King Zahard himself was able to become the ruler of this tower by overcoming it. However, only irregulars can take on this challenge, so JYU did not hesitate to step forward to accept the challenge of the god of management to help Rachel move on. JYU was then transported to a strange dimension to meet the god of stewardship, who accepted his request and gave a special test where JYU and Rachel would be placed beneath a lake. Huge. If they were swallowed by a whale and discharged in a dry land, they would pass the test, but if they were swallowed by giant earthworms, they would lose. The remaining players are allowed to help JYU and Rachel. They will be responsible for making sure the whales catch JYU and Rachel instead of the earthworms. The other players all agreed to help the two of them, so Kun came up with a plan to help JYU pass this test. While on the mission assigned by Kun, Anik and Andrasi encountered the assassin number 67 of the Zahard royal family, who came here with the purpose of dealing with Anik and recovering the swords. After defeating Anik, the assassin gave Andrasi the green April sword. He said that if Andrasi killed Anik with his own hands, he would be forgiven by Zahard's father. But Andrasi did not comply with the request of the assassin 67. She chose to join forces with Anik to deal with him. But in the end, both of these aunts and uncles are not his opponents. Assassin number 67 stepped on Anik and decided to kill the girl himself. Fortunately, at this time, Princess Yuri appeared. She announced that she would personally recover Ashel's swords and asked assassin number 67 to hand Anik to her to handle. But the assassin didn't listen and he even tried to sneak up on Yuri, so she was finally defeated by her subordinates. Before dying, the assassin revealed that JYU and Rachel were now facing a monster sent by him. All the things he caused were aimed at preventing irregulars from climbing to the top of the tower. On this side, JYU and Rachel are facing the sea monster and are constantly attacked by it. JYU tried so hard to protect Rachel that his whole body was injured. JYU finally defeated the monster, and at this moment the two of them were gradually sucked up by the whale. But Rachel suddenly pushed JYU out of the divine water boundary, causing him to sink to the bottom of the lake. Turns out, Rachel was also an irregular from the start. She wasn't picked by head-on and didn't pass the eel test. But her desire to see the stars prompted her to plead with the tower's false guardian. He made a condition that she was allowed to climb the tower if she killed Jyu. If she couldn't do that, she would be eliminated in the end. From the beginning, Rachel did not have any feelings for Jyu, so she accepted that condition. In the process of climbing the tower with other players, seeing Jyu being loved by many people, the feeling of jealousy rekindled inside this girl. Everything was just a play by Rachel until today. She pushed Jyu out of the barrier to gain the right to climb the tower. When she wakes up on the ground, Rachel tells everyone that Jyu was killed by a monster. After that, the judges could not find Ju's body, so they concluded that he was eaten by fish. Everyone was deeply saddened by Ju's departure, only Rachel silently laughing alone in the room. After that, the rest and Rachel continued their journey to the top of the tower. Somewhere at the bottom of the lake, Jyu is still alive because he is protected by the boundary god of water. After regaining consciousness, he still couldn't believe that the person who harmed him was Rachel, so he was determined to continue climbing the tower to find the answer for all. This is the end of the movie. Thank you very much. Please subscribe and press the notification button to wait for new videos. Goodbye and see you all again.